and attribute that they're only here because of the Native vote. These successes were possible because of folks like you, Native advocates, who have been fighting for the right to vote for generations, and of course, from the very early days of NCAI. In fact, just so you know, one of the first 4 resolutions passed at NCAI in that historic 1944 meeting was to get out the vote and to encourage the vote. So we're still doing what our ancestors wanted us to do, and it's a critical part of our work. So NCAI has set this ambitious goal for our 2012 Native Vote campaign to see the highest Native vote turnout ever. And when you look at our history, we know it can be done. For instance, in the Fort Belknap Reservation in Montana, and in so many of the Pueblos in New Mexico, turnout rates are regularly over 80%. A survey of seniors at UCLA showed that Native young people participate at rates higher than almost any other group of students. And we are particularly this year focused on Native youth because 42%, almost half of our Native population is under the age of 24, and almost 500,000 Native youth will be eligible to vote for their very first time in the next 4 years, which means we got to get them registered and get them ready. Our graph on the slide here that you see shows how much younger our Native population is than the general U.S. population. So this year's campaign has 4 components: our voter registration and get out the Native vote, our GOTNV, and election and voter protection, our voter education, and data collection. There's much more about each of these elements if you go to our website, nativevote.org. But the focus of our partnership with Rock the Vote is on the first element, registration and GOTNV. Why does registration matter? Because in 2008, 1 in every 3 Native people who were eligible to vote were not registered. That means 1 million people, Native people, did not exercise their right to vote and help us influence. Imagine the impact we could have on all elections across the country if Native people registered and voted. So to address this challenge, we've asked every tribe to identify a Native vote coordinator. We must encourage trusted institutions to promote voter registration and to make sure that registered voters get out to the polls and to make their voices heard. So finally, let me challenge each and every one of you to get involved. We really, honestly cannot do this without you. If you haven't already, we encourage you to sign up at the nativevote.org and make sure your tribe, your organization, has appointed a Native Vote coordinator. Once again, I want to thank you for your willingness to join us in this important discussion. And now I want to turn it over to Heather and Jaynie from Rock the Vote so you can hear about their important work and our partnership with Native Vote. Thanks.
Thank you so
Heather?
much, Jackie. Hi. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So this is Heather Smith. I'm the president of Rock the Vote. I want to thank everyone who's joined the call today. It's such important work that you all will be doing, and in such a critical time to be doing this work together. So just a little bit of background. Rock the Vote was founded 21 years ago. We were actually started by members of the recording industry, artists, musicians, creative directors who wanted to use their voice and the leverage they had as they spoke to people every single day, from their concert stages, through the albums that they were selling, through the media that they could get. They wanted to use their voice and use it for good and encourage people to get registered and get engaged in the political process and make sure that their voice as young people were being heard. So for the past 21 years now, we've been using music and popular culture and even new technologies to spread the word about why voting matters, encourage people to get registered, understand the power they have, we all have as voters, and the impact we can have, as Jackie was saying, if we do collectively show up, what kind of power we can leverage as young people in this country. And so this year, Rock the Vote has set a goal of registering 1.5 million young people to vote. And we'll do that both through on-the-ground programming as well as through an online voter registration tool. We figure a lot of people, especially under the age of 30, are spending their time on their mobile phones and on their computers, or at least online. So we want to make voting, and especially registering to vote, very simple and accessible using online technology. So as we were looking at where do we want to register young people, where do we want to divert our energy, where do we want to raise visibility about the importance and power of getting registered and casting a ballot, and empower communities to stand up and make their voice heard and have a real impact. And as we looked around the country, we realized, well, young people overall are underrepresented. You know, there's 12,500 young people turning 18 every single day in this country. Since the last election, that means 18 million people have turned 18 and need to be registered. We looked at everyone who moves. As you move around, you need to re-register, and realized that under 30, voters under 30, there are 25 million people that need to be registered to vote. But then we looked at who are the most underrepresented, and amongst them were Native American youth. And so we decided for the very first time at Rock the Vote to devote excessive resources from our side, to devote resources and attention from our organization, actually identify partners, hire staff, and put real resources into engaging and getting registered to vote young Native American youth. So we are thrilled and honored to be partnering together with all of y'all in the Native Vote program. As was introduced, Jaynie Parish has been hired as an organizer. She's our first field organizer in the whole campaign that we've hired this year, and she's on the ground focusing on reservations in other areas in the Southwest. And once again, we're just thrilled to be working together to ensure that the Native vote, the Native youth vote, gets out to vote in 2012.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Jaynie, is there anything you want to add before we talk about the particular tool?
Sure. Well, just a few, I guess, additional items in what some of the events and activities that I'm doing. Again, I'm stationed here out of the Southwest, predominantly working with Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, parts of Utah, and parts of Colorado. And I've had nothing but a great response, and a lot of people reaching out to me and also supporting me. And so where we started in the spring really was with our high school component, which we'll get into more detail with our democracy class. And Heather had mentioned our work with high school students a bit, and that's where we really focused a lot of our efforts prior to graduation season. And we also had people on the ground at the graduation events trying to hand out and register folks, and just making voting a very important part of graduation while they were going off and starting their new adventures in college or where else they may be. But also now that we're getting into the summer months, we are looking at a lot of the youth-oriented groups, whether that's Boys and Girls Clubs, for example, youth councils, conferences, Just Move It events, wherever we know, and I know where Native people, young Native people are going to be gathering. And of course, part of that is music and concert efforts. So we are also partnering with several fair, for example, Navajo Nation fair organizations, and I've also been invited to several of the Pueblo feasts that will be coming up. And so really just trying to be on the ground, and also a part of my responsibility is really trying to create and work with other existing GOTV organizations and recruit more volunteers, because that's the only way that we've really been able to be successful. I mean, I can't obviously be everywhere, and so we really need to hone in on people willing to step up and organize their own events, organize their own drives. And what we do similarly with Native Vote overall is train the folks and the rules and regulations around the state and what they can do, and we provide them whatever resources we can, whether that's forms, banners, or logos, whatever we need for their event to be successful. So those are just two of the highlights, and of course working with radio stations. Again, Heather talked about our cross with music and popular culture. We have Radio Rock the Vote, where we've been recruiting radio stations and partners online voter registration partners to really just get the visibility out there, especially this election year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaynie. And again, for those who've joined us, thank you for being on the call today. This is Peter Morris on the Native Vote team. I wanted to share some specific opportunities to partner with Rock the Vote that we've developed over the last couple of months and point you to those tools on our website. The first of those is our youth curriculum, which I'll share about in a moment, and the second is our voter registration widget, which Heather mentioned there. That tool is being used to, as a part of their campaign to register 1.5 million new voters, and we in Indian Country want to be a big part of that effort. So the youth curriculum is part of a Native-specific curriculum that is associated with Rock the Vote's democracy class, an effort to engage especially seniors who will be turning 18 in an education process about their right to vote, about the experience of their right to vote, the fastest approved amendment to the U.S. Constitution being the amendment that gave 18-year-olds the right to vote. And we've created a Native-specific supplement that casts the vision for Native people voting, why it's important, how it affects our nation-to-nation relationship with the federal government, and a whole range of different tools. So that tool was shared with folks who registered for this webinar, and it's also posted on the Native Vote website. We wanted to emphasize in this webinar that it's an adaptable tool. It's something that we've developed at the national level with the explicit aim that you would adapt it for your local needs and for particular programming needs. The democracy class is a one-class module that's designed to be delivered in schools. What we've heard from Indian Country is, and I know a bunch of those folks are on the line, Boys and Girls Clubs, Native Youth Programs, after-school and before-school programs, and a whole range of different ages are interested in utilizing the Native Vote youth curriculum to educate citizens and encourage folks to register and to participate. We're working with local and regional partners who've signed up through the state groups and in other parts of the Native Vote website to provide additional stories, local stories, best practices, to have kind of a community of learning in that space. And finally, our focus for the curriculum is on a week that we're calling Rock the Native Youth Vote Week during National Voter Registration Week, the week of September 24th. And we're asking Native schools, Boys and Girls Clubs, youth programs, and any other organizations that work with Native youth to host events and offer the Native Vote class that week and encourage registration in their community. We know, as Jackie mentioned, that youth are both a very large part of the population in Indian Country and also can be influential across generations. So we see Rock the Native Youth Vote Week as an opportunity to really cast a vision for the importance of registering and voting for all people in Native communities, not just for Native youth who will be voting for the first time. So that's the youth curriculum, and we have 3 things that you can do as next steps. You can download the tool on the website. You can adapt it, as I said, to meet your community needs, and you can sign up to join Rock the Native Vote, Native Youth Vote Week, September 24th to the 28th, and there'll be more information coming to this call and to others in the coming weeks. Now I have a couple of screenshots to show you of the Rock the Vote widget. So this is a screenshot of the Native Vote website from this morning. And over there on the right-hand side, you can see there's a arrow that will show up here in a second that, that indicates the Register to Vote widget, which is a tool that can be used in any state by any organization to provide voter registration opportunities to your constituents, whether it be a tribe or a housing authority or a CDFI or whomever. You as a community institution or as a tribal nation can put this widget on your website, and what it will show up is what comes up on the next slide. So we're going to bring up the next slide, and you'll see this voter registration form. And we have just recently posted on the Native Vote website the code to allow you to embed that widget on your own webpage. So if you're interested in doing that, or like me, know people who can work with websites and do that, you're not going to do it yourself, but you can direct folks to that widget code to get it put on your website, and join us as we seek to offer this opportunity for folks to register to vote. So the registration widget, we have a couple of next steps there. You can get the code, as I said, from nativevote.org. You can add it to your website, and you can join us in promoting it to your members. That is the content we planned for the webinar to this point before we go to questions. So Jaynie and I believe we might have Heather for a few more minutes too, are available for questions. We also we'd really like to hear any particular questions or comments you have. There are folks, I believe, from the Boys and Girls Club that works with Salt River in the Phoenix metro area that have actually done some of this mock election work before. And I wonder if you would like to identify yourself and make any comments or suggestions to the folks on the call. If you could raise your hand if you have a question or a comment, that would be excellent. And not physically raising it, there's a button there you can press. Okay, Tamara Del Mar from the Salt River Boys and Girls Club. Go ahead, you're on.
Okay, thank you. We actually did the Kids Voting Arizona curriculum with the last election. Our kids actually ended up voting for John McCain. But what we had done was we went through the curriculum, posted on the website. It provided a number of different activities for our kids to learn a little bit more about the democratic process, but it was more specific to the state of Arizona, and then it included the national election process. But it was we ran it through starting in September and all the way up until the election occurred. But it was a pretty unique opportunity to engage kids.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. We have one question in from Patrick Sullivan, and if other folks would like to raise their hand to ask questions, feel free. We do have another couple of hands. So Patrick's asking, how long does the curriculum take? Could it be done in an hour? It is designed as a kind of one-session course, so it could easily be adapted to fit that hour. Again, we provide tools in the curriculum when you have a look at it of some PSAs and other videos of Native youth talking about voting and civic engagement and kind of taking ownership of what's going on in our communities. And so it could be longer, and it's certainly able to be tailored to be delivered in that hour period of time.
Peter, may I add a few things?
Please, yeah, go ahead.
This is Jaynie with Rock the Vote, and I have taught a few classes, a democracy class, and they've gone really well over in our senior classes, and a lot of the schools have been very supportive. I've worked a lot directly with the teachers, of course, having to get clearance through the principals or whether it's superintendents. And they are designed to be 45 minutes and designed to be engaging so that I or whoever's teaching the course is not just lecturing to the students, but really trying to have them involved. And again, as Salt River had mentioned, it is a mock. Part of that is a mock election, but really also discussion. And many of these discussions happen, I think, in the home already or at youth councils, and talking about, well, what is going on in the community? What are important to the youth? What can they do? And so, these discussions can be very informative, very fun and entertaining, and also kind of gets the students really thinking about the history and responsibility of voting. And so with Democracy Class, teachers can also get this tool for free. You just go online to democracyclass.com, sign up, and you get a free toolkit. And that includes 2 T-shirts, buttons, voter registration forms, and, of course, instructions and everything you need. And in that toolkit, we are now going to be adding the curriculum that was designed from NCI Native Vote. And this is going to be available to teachers all across the country. And so you can sign up that way. And again, we encourage teachers to try and carry this on themselves in the classroom. But if not, and if they do have a representative like myself in the area, I would be able to, it'd be nice to give you guys a break, and I'd be happy to come in on a day and teach this 45-minute lesson.
Thanks so much, Jaynie. And our next question is from Joy Huntington. Go ahead, Joy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. This information is so useful and user-friendly, so I'm excited to use that in our region here in Interior Alaska. One question I have that we didn't really discuss yet is how can we in Alaska or anywhere get, Rock the Vote T-shirts? I haven't gone to the websites yet, but, can we purchase Native Vote and Rock the Vote, kind of banners and cards and T-shirts so that when we do have our events, we can, really proudly display who we're working with.
Jaynie, maybe you want to answer the question about Rock the Vote, and then we can provide some context about Native Vote materials.
Sure. I think that's the next discussion that NCNI and Rock the Vote will have, is maybe how we can combine some of our materials, because at this point we don't have that just yet. But Rock the Vote, we do have T-shirts. We have a bunch of great swag. Whatever it is you need, sometimes cups, bags, things like that. Go to rockthevote.com, and we have an online store. And what's been really great about the organization over the years is they've been able to partner with various clothing companies, very well known, many of them, of course, coming out of California. And I was actually thinking at some point an idea it'd be really nice to combine some of our Native Vote, Rock the Vote, with a Native designer and maybe making something. And that's just an idea. But we do have really nice, cool-looking T-shirts that anybody would be happy to wear. And we have some of, for example, some of our artists, if they are on stage or in the concerts, wearing those shirts. During the Grammys, for example, they had a nice venue, a nice pre-party for many of our celebrity folk to help promote apparel that was designed. And so how we do this, of course, a great marketing team, and they reach out to various apparel companies. So some of them are specifically designed with a particular apparel company or a certain group or for a certain event. So those things can happen, but of course it's all in a matter of looking for sponsorship and how we can get that covered financially. But if you want to purchase individual shirts or group T-shirts, you can do that online. But in the Democracy Toolkit itself, that I had mentioned in our democracy class, teachers do get 2 shirts in that toolkit, and it's for free. And it's not what you would see necessarily on our online store, but they are different shirts specifically for democracy class. And if you are volunteering or stepping up with us in terms of what we call street teams, or what I'm calling AKA res teams, what we provide you is also some of the materials. For example, if we can get a banner to you, buttons, Rock the Vote cards, hand cards. For example, Spotify is another music partner of ours, and they provide information to our volunteers or even our high school students. So we have little things that we can send to you if you sign up with us and want to host your own drive or your own event.
Thanks, Jaynie. And I'm going to turn it over to Tom Wallace, our Communications Director, to share a little bit about the Native Vote branded merchandise. And Jaynie, we will certainly follow up with you because some co-branded merchandise would be fantastic. But go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so hi everybody, this is Tom Wallace. I'm the Communications Director here at NCAI, and I help with a lot of the website stuff and a lot of the materials we're going to be putting out. Just so you know, in the next couple weeks, we're hoping to announce to all of our Native Vote partners that there'll be a place to put in an order. We're going to do first a group order so that we can sort of take advantage of bulk ordering with our vendor, because sort of the cost for one-off material can get really pricey for everybody. So we'll be sending out an email with information on how to order T-shirts, bumper stickers, buttons. We have ordered banners for Native Vote partners. We are sending them out to people to have them then send back. If you do want to have your own banner, we can provide the pricing information for you because those banners can get pretty pricey. But we are able to essentially lend those banners out to folks as they need, as long as they send them back. That's a really big component of it. So we'll be sending out that information. We also have sort of new branding for this year that we're going to be putting out that we've already developed, and so we're going to be hoping to have that come out soon. And finally, we have just sort of a temporary solution on the website. If you go under Get Involved, there is on the top tab, there's actually a Cafe Press store that we've just started. We put it up this week. You can order T-shirts on an individual basis, but like I said, those can be a little bit pricey because you're not ordering in bulk. So if you want to order your own, we encourage you to do that through the Cafe Press store on the website, and we will definitely make sure that you know about how to order bulk materials when we go to do that.
Great. We have another question from Eric Watkins that came through the typed interface, which is asking about the percentage of Native people who are registered to vote in comparison to the general voting population. And the statistics we have on that come from 2008. And Jackie mentioned one of our focuses being on data collection, and we still are trying to get our hands wrapped around that at the local level. So being able to say what it is in Arizona or southern Arizona is something that there isn't great data out there. But what we can say at the national level is that 71% of people across the United States are registered to vote who are eligible. But in Indian country, that number is only 60%. And that's Native people alone, which is a higher proportion of folks who are on reservation. So there's a more than 10% gap between registration for the general population and registration for Native people, particularly those on reservation. And then another troubling statistic is once folks are registered, the participation rate among Native people is lower. So 89.6% of those who are registered across America turn out and vote, whereas in Indian country that number is only 78%. And so again, it's about a 10% gap we're facing once folks are registered. So that kind of puts in stark contrast the challenge of both making sure we increase the number of folks who are registered in Indian country and making sure that once folks are registered, they get out to the polls and make their voices heard. We have a question. Which one are we answering? Right here. So there's a question about a budget that each site has for promotional items. At the moment, as Jaynie said, and Jaynie, you can talk more to this if you'd like, there are some free elements that come with signing up to offer the democracy class that is through Rock the Vote. The Native Vote curriculum supplement is just a file that can be downloaded at the website. And as Tom mentioned, there are some promotional items that can be ordered. We are in the late stages of talking with some funders about providing some resources for community grants that would pay for some of those promotional items for particular community organizers. So that's something to stay engaged, make sure you're signed up for the Native Vote listserv, and you have you're regularly checking the website, because in the coming weeks we'll be having more information about that once we hear more. So thanks for that question. Do we have any other questions? So there's also a question about when the project specifically begins. So the democracy class runs, I believe, from early March, which was the date that the amendment to the Constitution was kind of filed, through July 4th, which was when it was successfully ratified by the number of states, and all that stuff was taken care of in a record time. So it's that 100-day period. For Indian country, we are encouraging folks to use the democracy class curriculum during the summer, at summer programs if it works for you and your community. And again, we're focusing on that week at the end of September. September 25th is National Voter Registration Day, which is a national effort that NCAI is partnering with to make sure that folks are encouraged to register to vote. So we're doing efforts at the local level and encouraging folks to sign up in conjunction with that National Voter registration day on the 25th throughout that week of September 24th. We also have a question about where the Native Vote listserv sign-up is, and I'll ask Tom to answer that question.
Yeah, so going on nativevote.org and becoming a member of the community, you will then be signed up for our announcements, and that's the best place for you to get involved in the Native Vote community. So when you go on to nativevote.org, it'll be in the upper right-hand corner, I believe, the sign up link, and you can go from there, and you'll be included. Also, one other item for organizers that we've added recently that should be really helpful. We've seen some activity specifically around Wisconsin with today's special recall election vote. We've started state-based groups for people to connect directly to any of the organizers in the states. So we've seen already Wisconsin, Colorado. We encourage other people. We have almost every state up there that we're focused on and targeting as our key states. We encourage you to go onto that site and get active in those groups and coordinate with people in your state.
Thanks, Tom. Jaynie, did you have anything to add?
I'm sorry, what? I didn't quite get that. Is that a question?
Yeah, did you have anything to add about the any of that succession of questions we just asked?
Okay, sorry, yeah, you just went out for a minute.
No worries.
Any additional follow-up items, also please visit rockthevote.com. We have a page called what we call Election Land in addition to the Native Vote. We're trying to find the best way to combine our resources so that it's fluid for you all. But just know that you have a wealth of resources both at nativevote.com and at rockthevote.com. Also for our younger audience members, high school and those that we try to recruit, we have Facebook, rockthevote.com, which is very active. That also shows a lot of our events and activities, and we have a special section under Rock the Vote Southwest. So if I or volunteers or you are in the area, you'll see pictures of Native people and when we're on the ground, registering people, and it's just a great place to see, and it's coming in the form of a blog at some point. But right now we're just actually showing our work through the photos that we currently have. And if there are any questions or any way that I can be of help or send information, please feel free to email me or call me anytime.
Thanks so much, Jaynie. And we're going to answer another question in a moment, but Tom has the website up on your screen right now showing the previous training.
Yeah, so there's a question just about if these trainings are available. So we do have under News and Resources here on the site. You'll see that I've gone to the menu item, and under News and Resources you'll find that there's a trainings link, and we're posting all of the videos and webinars that we have done on the site. You'll see that we actually did an in-person training with Rock the Vote at our Executive Council winter session. That's about an hour-and-a-half long event, I believe, and you can watch the full video from that. And our most recent webinar was Native Vote for Nonprofits, so you can watch that as well. And so we'll be posting this webinar on YouTube as well, and we'll be posting it on this page. Again, the other resources that we spoke about today, under News and Resources, you'll see that the curriculum supplement is there under News and Resources, so you can link to it from there. The Register to Vote widget is available as code that you can include. So when you click on that, it takes you to a page where the code can be included. I know that there's, I know Levi Rickert is on from Native News Network, and so we encourage everybody to put this on their site to help register the vote, and that'll be our shared tool. If you have any questions, you can always email us. And then the groups that I was speaking about, you'll notice that the state groups are available online, and you can join those groups and coordinate with folks. I'll show you the Wisconsin group has been very active recently. with people posting things back and forth about getting out the vote. So we encourage, again, anybody to get involved in their state organizing efforts.
Okay, and thanks, Tom. We have another question from Matt Tomaskin about the Voter Action Network, which is a tool that allows folks to contact voters and identify whether folks are registered and to encourage them to participate. It's a really robust tool, and he's asking whether we have plans to utilize it and to offer it to regional intertribal organizations or tribes themselves. And the quick answer, Matt, is yes. We are in the process of finalizing a relationship with State Voices that will actually allow any tribe around the country and other partners of NCAI and the Native Vote effort to become members within the State Voices Network and to use their membership list to, in a way that protects their privacy and firewalls them. Not even NCAI is going to be able to see who is on those lists, but use those lists to work out who in the tribe is registered and send reminders to folks who aren't registered or make phone calls or do whatever, and to also follow up with folks and encourage them to participate. And that's that robust level of data that I was talking about before that we don't have at the national level, but the tribes and other membership-based organizations can utilize to identify what is our registration rate. So the national Native registration rate is 60.5. Is the registration rate for your tribe much higher than that? Is it much lower? Where should you focus your resources over the next 5 months or so before Election Day? That's the question that we're helping folks get their arms wrapped around. So there will be an announcement and a follow-up webinar within the next month or so, letting folks know how they can utilize that tool. And just a reminder for folks who've jumped on and are making comments to us too, this webinar will be posted along with the slides. I know there were some challenges accessing the slides early in the webinar. They'll be posted on nativevote.org, and you can play them back and download the slides. And we'll certainly keep in contact with folks about the range of things we've been discussing today. Just one last call for questions, and then I'll direct you to some final things, and we'll close the webinar. So one thing that is now on your screen, you'll see we are in the process of thinking about how PSAs can be used and how we can provide tools to local organizers to promote get out the vote activities. We have a Native Vote PSA by Chusky Spencer of Twilight fame, and you can view that on our website and also utilize that in your local PSAs, and we're planning to roll out a whole bunch more in the coming weeks and months, and we'll keep you updated on that as well. Please do use the tools on the website, access the webinars and video trainings we're providing, and make sure you sign up for the listserv and participate in the online community. We really appreciate Heather and Jaynie from Rock the Vote and their partnership. It is a wonderful thing to be able to be thinking about registration tools and also youth-specific engagement tools we've been talking about today. Thank you all for your time and for your commitment to the largest Native turnout ever in 2012, and we look forward to working with you all in the weeks and months to come. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.